Tuesday morning, WJTN. That means it's time for first Russ Diethrick, who joins us every Tuesday at this time. Russ, good morning.
Good morning to you, Dennis. Nice, bright sunshine. Beautiful day for a double or even a triple header.
Well, yeah, if you've got the energy to play that much baseball. Well, we've got a lot of baseball energy here and assembled today because joining me in the adjacent studio at an appropriate social distance, two other board members from Jamestown Community Baseball, LLC. In addition to Russ Diethrick, Greg Peterson is here and Randy Anderson. Greg, first, good morning.
Good morning. I want to say good morning also to the chairman of the board, Russ Diethrick. Wow.
Well, good morning to you.
And Randy, welcome back. It has been a while since you've been on the air here. Great to have you on again.
Well, thanks, Dennis. I'm happy to be here.
Now, we all gather here today, and I initiated this conversation because we learned a week ago that the Tarpskunks, and I personally, and I think many others in the community, had so much anticipation of what was going to happen at Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park this year. And now we have to wait another year. So, gentlemen, let us reset the table, as it were, in terms of what we can do as a community, as individuals, to maintain the momentum, to keep the interest going, to anticipate the return of the Tarpskunks, the return of Perfect Game League Baseball to Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park a year later than we expected.
Well, let me start by saying that it's been very heartening with regards to the number of investors, number of supporters, the media, especially you, Dennis, and WJTN, and the staff have all been very understanding about a situation of which we obviously had no control over. The fact that we are anticipating a terrific launch in 2021. And so we want to thank everybody and thank for their not only past support, continued support, and encouragement for 2021. And we are going to return that enthusiasm and matters which we'll talk about here in a few minutes. It's been certainly disappointing. I speak for all of us on the board that the anticipation was high. Many events had been planned. Many individuals were going engaged in unusual projects for the good of the cause, all of which will happen in some form or fashion with anticipation of May of 2021. So just an initial foray and a thanks. It's a tremendous thanks to the community, to the supporters, to the investors who came out in record numbers to support this community effort. The first time which there is a community-owned baseball team here in Jamestown versus a high-quality league in the Perfect Game Collegiate Baseball League, really since the days when Russ Diethrick had it. So the symmetry is not lost on any of us that it was Russ who had it most last and Russ who's leading us currently.
Randy?
Pretty much want to echo what Greg said. There was tremendous momentum around the Tarpskunks. As you know, Dennis, the community was excited about what was going on. General Manager Frank Fanning had many promotions and gimmicks, whatever you call it, to boost attendance at the stadium. Jordan Basil, our field manager, had recruited 30 top quality players from all over the United States that were excited to come to Jamestown and to play for the Tarpskunks. So everything was lined up perfectly. The excitement was there. The preparation was there. The board under Chairman Diethrick had worked very hard to get everything in place. And so, yeah, we were very disappointed that it's not going to happen. But jumping quickly to what Greg is saying, there's tremendous dedication among all the people that I just mentioned to continue the effort that we're making and to come out of the gate in 2021 stronger than ever.
Russ, anything you want to add at this point? You're not in the room, so I can't see the body language here, but I'd be welcome you to have an opportunity to say something here.
Sitting here with a grin and a smile on my face. It's I feel there was not a single pitch thrown for this year, but I have a feeling that we have won the World Series. What they've been talking about, the community support, the community excitement, the community endeavor to step forward, and we're going to, thanks to these guys and others, there's going to be a wonderful program of baseball, and there'll be no pitches thrown, but the history and the game will be on everybody's ears and everybody's eyes because of what the Skunks are going to do even for the rest of this year. So I feel we have already come out of it with a championship participation program.
What those of you who love baseball and wanted so much to have it return to Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park, and Sam Teresi comes to mind right away here for the initial steps that he took to unlock this franchise from its Milwaukee ownership and allow it to come to Jamestown, and for Jamestown Community Baseball LLC, the organization that all three of you represent, to be born and to then raise enough community money to sustain it, to bring it back after 1 year's absence. Now a second year of a dark field, even running a modest baseball operation for another 12 or 13 months is going to cost some money. Can you sustain this as you are? Does the community need to respond again, Greg Peterson, in order to make sure that a year from now you will be in healthy financial shape?
Thank you for the setup. The answer is yes. We've had terrific initial response from the community in the form of investors, sponsors, and otherwise, which have provided a cushion for us to segue into the next year. And, of course, that's further success will be dependent on that continuation of that support. So I'm pleased that we're in that position. I am pleased of the leadership, of course, all the board members, and on so many different aspects and fronts that it's continued. We've received nothing but support, and those who were going to sponsor us this year have let it be known that they're in for 2021, and those that have paid in advance have kind of said, hey, sit on it, enjoy it, we'll be a part of it for the next year. So that's all very, very encouraging that there is an interest, a hunger for baseball in the Jamestown area, and an understanding that this community group has made a concerted effort to have this continuum of the legacy of baseball, which goes back to 1939. And so they're all part of this. We're all really custodians for that legacy. I mean, the board members they've stepped forward, but so has the community. There is an understanding that this is an asset. This is a tourism destination. This is good for the economy. It is good on so many levels and aspects to have it. And so the support has been, and I'm confident it will continue to be.
It's a team affair, as you're talking about, Greg, and a tremendous team put together. I'm very, very glad that I do not have the task out of this team to pick a most valuable player. Every single one, because you could have that award, hanging around their neck as the most valuable player. Don't you agree?
Absolutely, Russ. I want to particularly shout out to your wife, June Diethrick, who's been a tremendous asset to this board. She really has got her eye on the bottom line and is watching our funds very carefully. Sam Teresi is an important member of our board because of his long involvement with the history of baseball in our community. Dr. George Carlo is important to us from the medical side of things. No one understands the crisis we're going through right now better than Dr. Carlo. George Sisson from the community college has been a valuable link between the Tarpskunks and the college. As you know, we were planning on dorming our players at the college, and George has been a big asset there. Bruce and Julie Dudgeon are an important couple that have helped us get through some really tough times. And last but not least is Randy Sweeney. And we all know about his long involvement in our community as the head of the Community Foundation, and he's bringing all his skills to the table as part of the Tarpskunks Board of Directors.
Frank Fanning as the general manager, Jordan Basile as the field manager. Are you confident that they'll be able to stay with you for another year? I mean, they must, Frank himself expressed a week ago on this program, the frustration of being, just at the end of the diving board ready to jump and then being told to come back to the edge of the pool. Will they be able to stay with you?
I think on both fronts, they've indicated nothing to the contrary. So they're planning for 2021. The players that Jordan Basile had reached out to had contacted and contracted with principally have all said that they're not only will they be eligible, but they are desirous of playing next year at this time. And likewise, Frank Fanning, though not upset, but he's obviously we all are not having a season, is planning full bore with programming and sponsorships and everything else for 2021. So I suspect they're all going to be here.
One of the other levels that we have in our community that we talk about the team that has been put together to bring this about, and an important member of that team is the city of Jamestown, its elected officials, and its community and public works people, and the parks department, because we have an outstanding, probably the most outstanding one in the league, the facility that they play in at that stadium down there. It's just a phenomenal place, and the ones I feel sorry for is, yes, our fans that can't go in down and sit and watch a ball game, but as those young ball players that are not having the opportunity to play the game of baseball on that dirt down at the stadium. It's just phenomenal. Thank you, Jamestown city officials.
What then can we help you with as fans, as people who are anxious to get back in the stands and watch a game for this longest hot stove we've known, 1 year and now another one added onto it, in terms of helping maintain the enthusiasm, the solidarity, the financial commitments to have the Tarpskunks take the field a year and a few weeks from now? What do you need from us?
Continued conversation about the fact that we have baseball here. It's unique. I think this community, in many forms or fashions, are the ambassadors for the Jamestown Tarpskunks. Certainly buying the merchandise of which both Randy and I are showcasing here. You can't see it, but we have it. Just further demonstrates the support and interest of the Tarpskunks. Obviously, a fantastic logo and logos. Much new merchandise will be rolling out in the near future. And I think for those who are keenly interested, not only again talk about it, but there are ways to support it. There is an opportunity to also pass along. We're going to launch a lot of actually very interesting things in the near future, and I'll have Randy talk about a couple of them, but which will give flavor to the Tarpskunks and the history. We'll be doing such things as Tuesdays with the Tarpskunks, and we're going to be doing some other things, which maybe Russ will talk about. He's part of one. Randy's certainly part of it. So let me just use that as an introduction and throw it to Randy to talk about a couple of things which are forthcoming.
Dennis, as you know, I've been writing weekly, I guess you call them articles about the history of baseball in our community, and Scott Kinberg has been gracious enough to run those articles in the Post-Journal. I think Stacy Hannon has been running them in the Jamestown Gazette as well, and I know that they've been of interest to you as well. Along that lines, Dennis, back in, I think, about 1998, under the leadership of Greg and Russ, a book was published called Across the Seams. It was written by David Muley, and it was the history of professional baseball in Jamestown, New York, from 1939 up to, I think it was the 1994 season. Well, we, and I say the board of the Tarpskunks, have the idea to reissue that book and have it updated. That would take us from where David Muley left off up to the 2020 season with the Tarpskunks. And along that line, we have been working with Scott Kinberg, sports editor of the Post-Journal. And he's going to fill in the years from 95 to 2020 in a unique way. He's using articles that were written by his previous boss, Jim Riggs, who, as we all know, covered the Jamestown Jammers, the Jamestown Expos, and all the other iterations of the team like no one else did. So we have a great repository of history of baseball in Jamestown. So Scott Kinberg is adding to the Dave Muley book covering the years 1995 through 2020. And we will be releasing that book, which is going to be renamed Our Game, A History of Baseball in Jamestown, New York, sometime this summer. And we'll have appropriate launch parties and media events.
Okay, and what's Tuesdays with the Tarpskunks all about, somebody?
Well, I'll jump in on that. Tuesdays with the Tarpskunks is a montage of programs which will have the readings. I have certain celebrities that will be reading excerpts from that book. We will be having interviews with some of the players. We will be showing back some flashbacks, some vintage interviews and movies and stuff I put together many years ago from people who played here, and also inserting probably 2 to 3 minutes on each segment, something called Secrets of Champions, of which Dr. George Carlo and part of his group have provided sort of lessons for players with regarding to hitting, playing, stealing bases, understanding adrenaline, all that stuff. So it's going to be kind of a 15, 20-minute video / podcast that will roll out starting at a time soon, every Tuesdays with the Tarpskunks, and it'll be available throughout. So very excited about that program, and the participation we've had through a variety of members has been quite well, it's amazing. So we're excited about those opportunities to continue to touch the Tarpskunks, to touch the history, the current players, and hopefully that will create a buzz and that continuation of conversation about us.
We're 4 minutes and out, gentlemen, so if any other news we should share immediately. But Russ Diethrick is on the phone with us. He's the head of the Jamestown Community Baseball LLC Board of Directors, and 2 other members of that board, Greg Peterson and Randy Anderson, are in the studio with us as well. Any other things, the nuggets of information that we ought to pass on to the community before our time is completely elapsed? And then I'll say one other thing.
Well, Dennis, you've been talking this morning about the wonderful team that has been together and continues to stay together to keep baseball on everybody's mind, and to be very, very proud of what has happened. I just received a mailing on a booklet from Cooperstown on the Hall of Fame, listing the inductees coming up, and listing and stories of all of the previous inductees. And what a proud moment it is to spin the pages and see the name Nellie Fox and Randy Johnson, and knowing that they played down here representing the city of Jamestown, the county of Chautauqua, and Western New York, as they played in the Pony League and in the NYP League. And it's a real honor to realize. And there are hundreds and there are thousands of young men who played the game of baseball on those grounds down at the stadium. And effort we put together to try to put that honor roll list together and make it available to people to say, oh, he played here, oh, he played here. And not only played for Jamestown, but there are hundreds and thousands of them that came in and played against Jamestown that went on to Cooperstown and went on to be just outstanding Major League ball players. And it all happened in Jamestown, New York. And it's because of people like Randy and Greg and others that they've been talking about this morning is why it's part of our legacy.
Two things to finish quickly. One is this. Russ, you still have not heard anything more about the Babe Ruth World Series, also scheduled for Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park later this summer.
I have not heard anything final, but they're working on it, and I presume in not too many more sunrises when we will have the decisions they've made known.
The other thing that I'll say just in the last couple of minutes here is that with the now forced second year of no ball at for the Perfect Game League at Russell E. Diethrick Jr. Park, the hunger for the community, for people to come and see the games a little more than a year from now will be at a peak, I think. And maybe that will help the enthusiastic launch of the Jamestown Tarpskunks when the opportunity finally does present. I mean, if there's a silver lining to any of this anywhere, it might be that denied baseball for this extended period of time, that people will be very anxious to get into, to be in the left field seats and even watch a foul ball come up.
It'll be way better than watching Korean Baseball League in the overnight hours on ESPN.
Well, with everything that's going on and what you're talking about today and what's going to happen, what's going to be next year, and I'm confident as I sit here that the city would react to it, we may find ourselves needing to bring in additional bleachers at the stadium to take care of the number of people that come down there to watch a ball game.
We could only hope, Russ. Gentlemen, thank you. I will welcome you and other members of Jamestown Community Baseball, LLC, particularly on Tuesday mornings when Russ joins us. We try to focus on sports on this program, but to help you sustain the momentum and the interest in this, I would be happy to schedule you back whenever the occasion is appropriate.
Thanks for your support, Dennis. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Dennis.